Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Fanale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, and this is episode, wait for it, 297, 294 weeks in a row, and we have a real special guest today. I mean, there's a lot special about this gentleman. We're in the same market. Sheldon has been around a good number of years, has been successful, has been watched by a lot of people say, do what Sheldon does. But he's just like, he does things the right way, in a different way, in a unique way. So we're going to talk to Sheldon about his business. He was also one of our first year guests. He was episode 41. So it's been a while, but we're back. Sheldon, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you. What a lofty introduction that is. But I'm very privileged to be back. Almost 300. Congratulations to you for the consistency.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to getting started. We're going to talk about some great things and help as many people as we can. But first, Nelson, hit the video.
Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team.
Good morning, and we're back. Here we are. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk to Sheldon Neal, top realtor associate with RE/MAX in Oradell, New Jersey, Bergen County. And I think Bergen County is probably one of the best places in the country. If you ask me, I've been here my entire life. So it's pretty cool. But Sheldon, before we get started, I do have one question I must ask you, and I ask everybody that joins the show. I did watch the beginning of our episode 41 an hour ago. And I didn't ask this question. I just said the answer to it. What does TGIF stand for?
I imagine it stands for thank goodness it's Friday, but there's probably some other explanations for it.
You know, Sheldon, I want to thank you for trying. You were close, but not there. It's thank God it's finale. I mean, what else could it be, right?
I should have known.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, man, you've been in this great business and successful for a number of years, I think 18 years. Tell me about how you got started, though. I mean, everybody starts in a certain place. No one really goes, through their childhood and high school and says, I'm going to be a real estate agent when I grow up. People might say a police officer, a fireman. Tell me how you got into this business and why, and what you've had to do to get where you are today and to remain that consistent top agent that you are today.
Well, it was a crossroads in my life. Had an opportunity to start a different path almost 20 years ago. And we had just bought a house with my fiance at the time, now my wife. And the process that we went through was fascinating with me, for me. And I loved the steps that it took to get to the closing table. I loved the intricacies of making sure that you hit every deadline and that we were prepared every step of the way. And I just got excited about it and felt that it was something that I would enjoy. And of course, as we all know, if you choose a journey that you enjoy, you never really work a difficult day in your life because it's always exciting. I still wake up every day excited to be a realtor and excited to help people to the next chapter of their lives. So I just had a feeling that it would be a good match for me. And as soon as I hit the ground running. And it's, again, almost 2 decades later. And I'm still loving doing what I'm doing, and have tried to perfect the process so I can bring even more value to clients as every year goes by, learning all the time. I'm still learning about how to bring more value 20 years later. But I'm fascinated by the job, by the industry, and by how we can help people with something which is so critical to their lives.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that, that I look at is I'm going to start with, sometimes I dissect what people say as we move along. And you said excited every day, right? So that's a motivating factor. And a lot of agents get in this business and, it's a job, or it's something they want to try, or they don't go all in as obviously you have and you did from day one. Is there a secret? Is there a mindset, Sheldon, that you use? Honestly, there are days that I get up and you know what? I'd rather just not do something today, or I'd rather not do that. Even when I'm going to play golf, I some days I say, you know what? Maybe I won't play today. But what's the mindset? What's the feeling? What's the attitude to get you started every day in this business?
I mean, honestly, I think I found the perfect match for my personality, my character, my business sense. I run my journey like a business. Everything from the research to the communications, to the financial side, to my budgeting, marketing, everything to do with my job, I take very, very seriously. And again, I continue to try and learn more on a regular basis. Thing for me to get up every day, because I sort of wake up and say, okay, what can I accomplish today? What's on my schedule? One of my little sort of secret planners is that I plan the next day the night before. Very, very important to me to do that, so that I wake up prepared, knowing what's coming and that I'm ready for it. And that has helped me a lot over the years, so that I don't wake up in a bit of a funk or a fog or not prepared. But I just see opportunity to help people, opportunity to improve my success, which in turn allows me to improve with my family. So it's all intertwined. It's a constant wheels in motion thing for me. Funnily enough, I rarely wake up in that funk of, I don't really want to get out of bed today. That's why I think it's a great match for me, is that pretty much every day I wake up and say, okay, I'm ready to take on this day and I'm ready to be productive.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, a lot of people have some trouble with that, but I think it's about a mindset, about getting started. And sometimes it's the frustration of not being successful quickly, not being successful in a stuck environment, or in a market that we happen to be in. This broadcast is being broadcast on February 16th, 2024. We're in a very strange market. And as you know, I've been through quite a few different types of markets over the last 40 years. And I had a conversation with one of my former agents who used to work for me early this morning at the gym. And I said, it's not the same. We're in a market that's not the same. Inventory is different. And there's always corrections, always changes. So there's frustrations and there's fear that happens with new agents and agents being stuck. When you got started, Sheldon, was there something? Were there times where you questioned yourself, you questioned your decision, or downturns for you personally that you had to get out of?
Yeah, I never questioned my choice to get involved with this, because again, from day one, I just felt like I could make a difference to people that needed help buying or selling a house. And again, it was always exciting. So I never questioned the journey. There are obviously peaks and valleys, and there are markets that are more challenging than others. And right now, I'm probably hustling more than I have in about 10 years, but that's okay. We're need to work hard. Sometimes we get into this sort of rut of thinking, well, it's like a conveyor belt. You just get up, get on the conveyor belt, and you'll get to the end of the road. And that's not how real estate is. It's not really how life is. But I'm not afraid of a challenge. I'm not afraid to hustle, even 20 years later, and having had some really good success over the years. So this year and this market, as you rightly mentioned, is extraordinarily challenging. The lack of inventory and the challenge for it to be affordable for buyers to actually afford a house in this market has made it a very different communication, a very different value proposition to be able to help people see where it can work for them. And that challenge I'm not afraid of. So while there have been peaks and valleys, I just look at it as another opportunity for me to learn to give different advice, better advice, research more about where the opportunities are, because the opportunities might be different today than they were a year ago, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly willing to learn and keep your eyes and ears open and do whatever it takes, because right now it's a do whatever it takes situation for most agents. And for a long time, agents didn't really have to do that. You had a really good system in place, and you could pretty much make a good living by doing the same thing over and over and still being of value to people, but it was pretty consistent in terms of what was expected. It's not that way now. You have to think outside the box. You have to go above and beyond even more than normal. And that doesn't make me afraid.
Exactly. But, and that's the thing. I mean, well, number one, I think it's commitment. And as you decided, once you make a decision to do something, I mean, it's like everyone needs to do this. They need to make that decision. And it's like, let's go forward. Let's go. This is it. No matter what happens, let's go. Every day is not going to be peachy. Every day is not going to be fantastic, but I can make it so with attitude and action, right? So the most important thing that I try to do with these broadcasts and have for almost 5.5 years is that I want to give back and I want to help people as much as I possibly can. I don't attend as many events as I used to. And last week I did attend an event called Sales Mastery 2.0 in California with, just the greats, John Cheplack and a few other people out there, Cody Gibson, et cetera. And one of the things that we talked about was the art of differentiation, being different in your dialogues, being different in how you handle it. I mean, you said just a few minutes ago that said your opportunities are different or in a different place today than they might have been a year ago. Through your career, Sheldon, that I've seen, one of the things that we talked about the other day is that I've always admired the way you've come across to people and how you come out there and promote yourself. Talk to me about how you got started in the promotion of the Sheldon Neal way and the unique manner you do it, and what got you going. Was it just having fun?
Well, I think it was primarily because it was very well known. It still is, and that I think is the issue. It's very well known that buying a house is incredibly stressful, or selling a house. Buying or selling a house, incredibly stressful, which is why realtors have a job. If it wasn't so stressful and you needed some assistance, there wouldn't be a need for us agents. So we are important to the process because it can be very emotional. It's the largest financial exposure for almost everybody in their lives. And so a wrong move could be financially devastating for people. So that in itself creates a lot of stress. Then the disruption of the process, whether you're a buyer or a seller, there is a disruption to your life. If you're a seller, you have to keep packing up, getting out of the house. If you've got a dog, if you've got kids, if you've got a work schedule, the showing process can be very stressful. Then the emotional side of having strangers come into your house. I mean, there's so many components to that make it very, very stressful, that the need for assistance is huge. And so I saw an opportunity to try and take a lot of that stress out by partnering in slightly a different way, being a little bit more on their level, learning a little bit more about the families that I'm working with, so that I can tailor maybe a little bit more information. If they're family oriented, then I've got to keep in mind that they might have a feeding schedule or an early bedtime schedule. Maybe I take a little bit more interest in what their normal 9 to 5 is. Maybe it's not 9 to 5. Maybe it's evenings. So digging a little bit deeper, trying to get a little bit closer with my clients along the way has helped me, again, to take some of that stress out of it. And then coupled with the fact that I enjoy what I do, I'm not afraid of the challenge, and I'm very transparent with who I am. And who I am is somebody who likes to try and be positive with everything. Even in a challenge, I try to be positive. Even in disappointment, I try to find the positive. And that's how I've sort of marketed myself, is the person that's going to be in the trenches with you, but is going to try and minimize the stress, going to work my tail off, but to make that journey easier in a way, certainly emotionally, than it could be with other agents. And I think that's been one of the differences for me along the way, is that, again, I try to find the positives. I try to make the journey smoother and enjoyable and fun along the way, which it sounds silly to sort of say, it's a fun journey when you're buying and selling a house, because most people don't look at it that way. But I have found a rhythm with my communication that has allowed me to do that, be successful, help people to that next important chapter of their lives, and make it a fun and enjoyable journey along the way.
That's interesting. A rhythm with your communication, which means it's a simple cadence that you do your business with. And I want everybody to that's watching this either now or will watch this to go back and listen to the last couple of minutes of what Sheldon talked about. Because basically what you were talking about is something different approach to the business than most people do. Your approach really is about sincerely helping the seller, the buyer, going to them rather than at them. And most importantly, Sheldon, that I see and I hear and I've always known is you're more in your heart than you are in your head, which is where everything comes from for you. And you know what? It just goes to show that you don't have to go after the money to be a great real estate agent. I mean, look, we all say we do things the right way and we'll do whatever it takes. I'm sorry, I can hear that over and over and over again. However, if I don't see it, if I don't see the action, because action is what it's all about. You're taking the action by asking questions. And if you want to keep telling people how to do shit, that's really, I really don't care about you. I want to know what you care about me. And the old expression goes, as soon as they know they care about you, care about them, they will care about you. Segueing that into, your marketing and how you've been able to put yourself out there. And people talk about social media. And, we talked about this the other day, is I've always admired your approach to social media. And, it's something that came up that we all had to do, but you approached it with, just the same way that you are now. I mean, just fun. Talk to me about, you just act on different ideas.
Yeah. I like social media. I tend to like being transparent. And my social media mixes my personal, my family, my business, my humor, things that entertain me, I imagine entertain some other people. Not everybody, and that's okay. Very comfortable with the fact that not everybody is everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. But it doesn't stop me from trying to throw a few things against the wall, because that, I think, is a fear that holds a lot of agents back from trying to jump in the deep end with social media, is that they are afraid that some people will look at them and think that they're foolish or they look silly or they don't look professional. There's an element of being conscious of how you come across, which is important, but there's also an element of just going for it, just being all in. Because if you're who you are, then that's a good promotion to potential clients and buyers and sellers, because they want to know who you are. My approach to social media is just that. I want them to know who I am as a person, in addition to my stats as a realtor. This is a very important thing with regards to my social media. They can look up my stats and they can look up my history and they can Google my sales, and that's great. And I'm humbly blessed that I've had a successful journey in real estate. But the choice of who they work with is very important to them, because not all agents are created the same, and it's more evident than ever that is the case, because I have to, with the deals that I do, I have to work with other agents as well. And I have to adjust my approach to other agents almost every transaction.
Right.
But if you know who I am a little bit more ahead of deciding whether you want to work with me to sell your house or not, you almost get a comfort level ahead of making that choice, because you're allowed to go to my social media and you see that I'm a family person as well. I dedicate a lot of time to my family, but I also dedicate a lot of time to my clients. Sometimes I'm working up, well into the wee hours of the night, and that doesn't bother me. But I also have a very supportive family who understands if I have to get up and jump and head out of the house. dad has to do a job. You know, my wife is incredibly supportive from day one, knowing that if somebody is in need and I've got to go over there and sit down and talk them off a ledge, or go over a strategy or get something signed, we have to be able to move fast in this industry. And so I am blessed to share through my social media a lot more of my everyday life than most agents are willing to do. And that does include humor and entertainment, which I think is good to share, because then people know what they might get along the way in private conversations. They also will see some of the things that I like outside of real estate, which sometimes gives another good background of who we are. So I look at social media as an opportunity to really, really be transparent. I don't subscribe to the let's separate our professional media and our personal social. I am an advocate of combining the two, although it's not for everybody. And it's not so easy to do in some cases, because you have to get a delicate balance so that one doesn't cloud the other. But if you find a rhythm to be able to be transparent and just be yourself and you're genuine, you can allow people to know who you are and hopefully like who you are, to the point where they say, you know what, there's something about this guy. I feel comfortable with him, and we should talk to him in terms of assisting us to buy or sell a house.
Yeah, and one of the things that I always talk to agents about when it comes to social media is I say, look, if you see someone out there, another agent doing a great job, or it seems that, you know, this top agent gets a lot of business, and you look at their social media, honestly, most of the time it's not like Sheldon Neal. It's actually, you know, they post some video, they post some stats on themselves, and it's real propping up, but it's still the tip of the iceberg. I believe, and I'll submit to you for your approval, basically, is when we see Sheldon Neal out there, we're seeing a life of someone that is dedicated to not only his business, but to his family and his personal life, and having a blast as he does it. You know, I've followed you forever. And you and I have never actually met in person. But we followed each other. So we know a little bit about each other. And that's the thing. When I talk about other agents and try to coach agents to the social media end of it, yours is one where if you can do that, because that will really help people know who you are. Because I believe social media is a supporting cast, if you will, for, you know, proving you are who you say you are. You are what you say you are, right? Going on. What you've talked about working with other agents, and you had to shift a bit over this year. What do you find? I know it's the market, and I don't like to focus on markets, but when we talk about the markets, and you've been through several like this, you've said before that you have to be all in, right? And that there's a separation because not all agents are created equally. Is there a way to fix that? Is there a way to help other agents be better at what they do and not be selfish? And that is like putting it out there.
I mean, there is. It all comes down to what the individual goal is for the agent. There are agents that are quite happy to sort of come and go, show up one day, not show up one day, and they're quite happy to do so. It doesn't help, in my opinion, it doesn't really help our industry, because those agents tend to not be willing to go the extra mile. They just want to sort of show up, and they don't need to necessarily be more successful, and they, you know, that's all they want to get out of it. But if you're referring to the agents that really want to be successful, but are sort of at this juncture and don't know where to go,
Mm-hmm.
I would say most of the top agents that I know are only too happy to genuinely try and help other agents that are in a bit of a bind. Myself included, I talk to a lot of agents, newer agents especially, and even some of the more experienced agents that just want to bounce some things around. So I would say the first thing to do is like you said, find somebody that you think has a similar type of personality, outlook, or is just in a place where you'd like to be, and very politely reach out to them. We're a communication industry, from clients to other fellow agents, and I would not be where I am today if there weren't some very generous and open-minded agents that helped me along the way. And still, I constantly speak with other agents and just bounce things around. What's your thought? Here's what I'm seeing. Communication and research and putting in that extra time to learn is critical. And I think a lot of times some either newer agents or agents that have stayed in a complete blinkered journey, they miss out on learning a little bit more about what could be successful or helpful to them at that very moment. Because again, methodologies and success systems, they change, and what you did well a few years ago might not work well today, which is why I say again, 20 years in, I'm constantly looking for ways to learn and improve and be better and be more valuable. And that doesn't go away, I don't think. You can see different markets, you can have been through ups and downs, which we have from 2008 mortgage crisis, etc. But I'll tell you that in my opinion, this is the strangest market I've ever seen in 20 years. And I'm not just throwing that away as an exaggeration because we're in it right now. It's the strangest market I've ever seen, because it doesn't just rely on hard work to be successful. You have got to be very strategic in this market, more so than than I've been ever before. And again, I'm fine with that. It actually motivates me. That's something that makes me wake up with that jump out of bed, type of a personality. And so in this case, where people might be at that point where they don't know what to do, I would first of all reach out to your broker if you have that type of relationship. Then reach out to other agents who you admire, because most of the time they're going to give you some time, and they're going to be helpful, and they're going to be only too happy to do so. And again, I'm living proof of that, because I wouldn't be where I am today without that. In addition, you certainly should be thirsty for learning as much as you can through online ability. Namely, Inman puts out a ton of information on a weekly. I thirst for industry updates and help that I can get from Inman or other industry leaders. And so there is an ability for you to hustle yourself into a better place. I do believe that. But also is of where you hustle are important.
All right. So Sheldon Neal came along, got in the real estate business, and did not just plod along, okay, let's see what happens today. You had a process. You built, and if you look back on it, there's the Sheldon Neal formula, the process that you used, right? So, and you built, you have some support. How did that? You there? Still there, Sheldon? You went dark on me. Hello, Sheldon. I know you're still connected, but you went dark on me.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
No worries. Honestly, this happened at 41. We had a problem in the beginning too. That was crazy. Yeah. Anyway, so look, there was a Sheldon Neal process. There's a formula you built, right? Now, you didn't probably know it 17, 18 years ago, but you see what you did and what worked has moved forward. So if I was a new agent, a stuck agent, I reached out to Sheldon Neal and I say, Sheldon, what's the process I should follow? I started doing some business. I got some deals. I'm getting a little consistent. How do I scale? How do I grow? What do I do? What's the process that worked for you?
First, you got to get systems that work for you. And systems include client tracking, follow-up procedures, and communication templates. Those are standard things that you have to customize to your own preferences because if you don't have some way to track everything and to keep you accountable and a guideline, you're just shooting in the wind. And at that point, you will have no direction to follow and no real template to be able to stick to on a daily basis. So finding good systems that work for you is critical. I've been through probably 8 or 9 different CRMs, customer relationship management system, and I go back to the basics all the time. I have collaborative Google Drive share spreadsheets with the partners that I work with, my transaction coordinators, my administrative assistants, the people that I work with. We share collaborative Google Drive docs. It's very, very simple. But I have used so many powerful CRMs, and while they work very well for a lot of people, just it didn't fit my rhythm. So finding that type of tracking process is critical. So a newer agent should really try and explore those type of databases, for example, to really get started. Then formulate some templates. Templates were a huge backbone of my beginning process when I started. And by templates, I mean, map out what you are going to do and say, whether it's to a buyer consultation or listing appointment, or simply when you're following up with an agent inquiring about an offer process or something else. But have templates in place so that you're not winging it. If you don't, you will get yourself into a situation where you miss asking the correct question, miss finding a critical piece of information, and you only get one chance in a lot of these cases. It's certainly in a listing appointment or in a buyer consultation on the phone. If they call you, you have to leave those people confident in who you are and how you can help them. And having a template in place where you can simply, like, I used to have a templated sheet in front of me every time I spoke to a buyer on the phone. And I would simply go down the questions and ask the questions, fill in the answers. And it allowed me to be very consistent and get the information that I wanted and needed to then turn something around that would be of value to them. So getting systems in place is a critical part of an agent that's either starting out or looking to try and reinvent or rekindle or whichever. Then I would say, like I said before, talking to other agents. It's free. Marketing is not free very much these days, and in fact, it's exorbitantly expensive. So, which is the next thing I'll mention. But anything for free, you should do. There's some free seminars, some free webinars. Go and take all of those in. That's what I did as an agent. First 6 months, I went to as many free webinars and seminars as I could. I tried to thirst as much information so that I could digest it all and figure out what would work best for me. So doing that was super helpful. And then talking to other agents, super helpful. And then the last thing that I mentioned there is we all are prisoner to the dangling carrot, shiny object syndrome when it comes to marketing. And it is the downfall of many new agents, because you don't sell any houses, you don't have a paycheck. But to sell houses, they're telling you you need to buy this program, this lead generation, that lead generation. And while some of them work, many, if not most of them, don't. And they're right. Certainly from my experience. I'm sure there's value in almost everything in some form, but the majority just tend to be not as fruitful as you were sold when you bought the program. So you have to be exceptionally careful with how your marketing dollars are distributed. Exceptionally careful. And that's something that I learned over the years, and probably 10 years in, decided I was going to be razor sharp in terms of where every marketing dollar went. And I guess maybe you have to learn trial by error a little bit there, because sometimes, most of the time, you don't really know until you've actually tried it, unless you talk to some other agents and get some other advice there. But these are all critical parts that can make or break you as a newer agent or an agent looking to try and step things up a little bit. You have a limited amount of resources and finances in general, and how you use them and your time and your money is absolutely critical to your success. So.
Yeah, I want to add one thing there about all the systems, because you as well as I, as well as a lot of agents that are vocal and that check things out. I check everything out. So I get more and more texts, more and more emails, more and more things in my Facebook feed and my social media, people trying to sell me something. And I love talking to them because I want to find out what they're doing. I try to ask the right questions. And there's two questions that are really important aside from the system that they're trying to sell you. One is, who in my area is successful with your system? Number one, right? And when they can't tell you anyone, well, okay, so what is your success rate in your area? I will tell you that I know that, and this is true, and anybody can check me out on this. Fact check me. Northern New Jersey, the Northeast is difficult for most of these systems to work. Why? I don't know if we're all just pricks or what we are, but it's very difficult. I know the best system that I've seen in my many, many years of being in this business is 94% effective. That's 6%, we're in it, where it doesn't work, or there are challenges that work. So understand and find out exactly, and you said it in a different way, check to see if it's successful. Everything you've talked about has to do with building relationships, has to do with having systems and processes that work, and just to keep going with it. One of the things that I do on a monthly basis, I work with a solo agent mastermind, and I work with solo agents based on working scripts and dialogues and growing their business. And it's something that I do. I've also worked with teams, but a lot of people say, if you're new in the business, join a team. Or if you're new in the business, like you just said, and I believe what you said, do you think it's important for a new agent to join a team, or should they be working with themselves and going out there and learning for themselves, or joining a good brokerage?
Yeah, it's a really important decision, and I have my latest team member right here, as you can see.
Beautiful.
Guest appearance from my admin right there. But it is super important to understand what that choice does for you. I think it is very helpful to many newer agents to join a team at the beginning, especially at the beginning, because you have some support staff around you. You have people that are easily accessible and likely to be ready to help you, because your success helps the team's success at that point. In addition, the main reason is that the majority of team leaders are able to provide clients. They're able to provide leads so that you have to follow up with. When you are a brand new agent, it is really, really hard to establish a stream of leads because people don't really know you. You haven't got a track record. You don't have a Googleable history or an armful of reviews where people can really know who you are. And again, because it's one of the largest financial dedications of anybody's life, they want to know who they're handing that responsibility to. So it is hard. So joining a team at the beginning, at least at the beginning, I think is critically important. I am very blessed to have been, in partnership with several agents now that work together for over a decade, and we're all in communication all the time. We all help each other all the time. We all share stories and successes all the time. So it's not that you just have to get involved with a team to get yourself started and then you're off on your own. It just depends. I'm thrilled to be partnered with the experienced agents that I work with on a daily basis. And we really have helped each other through thick and thin and to the tops of the mountain. And to start there as a new agent, I think is a very smart move. I think it's really, really, really difficult to start as a new agent and not be a part of a team which can give you a mentor or somebody to give you advice. Obviously, it also depends on which brokerage you align with. There are several brokerages out there who spend a considerable amount of effort laying a pathway for new agents. New agent, just get on board. We're going to give you a 90-day template. Here's what you need to follow. We're going to have meetings every week. Those type of situations are also very valuable to
Right.
newer agents. So the brokerage does matter, and you need to research that. Talk to people first. See hear from people what their experiences are, because if you align with the wrong brokerage, you might find yourself on an island on your own, and then in a bit of a fearful panic mode where you have no idea where to turn next.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we talk about being solo agents and stuff, one of the things that you've been able to do is you have your network of quote unquote partners where you're all helping each other out. Right. And that's just like, I mean, it's a niched environment where, you got an issue, you got somebody you can talk to, and you've been able to grow that. And that is like such a unique situation because you don't see that a lot. And it's just the way all you have to do is help each other. That's right. That's how it works. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, man, if you were a stuck agent in this market today, and you said earlier you've never seen a market like this, and I said earlier as well, I have never seen a market like this in twice as long being in the business. You're a stuck agent that really wants to get going. You love this business. You get up with the right attitude. What would you tell them to do, and how would you push them forward?
You have got to look at the man in the mirror and say, nothing is going to come easy in this market. There were several agents that I had communications with last year, because remember, this has now been going on in this way for over a year. But I spoke to several agents who said, you know what, I'm 30 years in the business. I'm not willing to do what it takes in this market. I've basically taken a couple months off here, and I'm happy to do that. And so those agents lived off their prior success, and that was their prerogative. That was up to them. The other agents who said, you know what, I'm still hungry. I want to be successful, but I might have to hustle more than I have in years. That's what needs to be done. If you look yourself in the eye and say, what is my goal? Then you can sort of back into it. And right now, if you want to be successful, you've got to look at yourself and say, I have to be willing to hustle and do whatever it takes. And by hustle, I mean, make some more follow-up phone calls, check in with people more, check in with attorneys more in the process, check in with the mortgage people, make sure you are there at the home inspection, or somebody from your team or a partner is there. Then follow up, share documents, go above and beyond to make sure that if you have deals, that they stay together, because that's been one of the problems as well. Deals have been falling apart in the last year more than they have before. So there's extra hustle that you need to be prepared for in terms of just keeping those together. Then checking in on your past clients. 90% of my business comes from referral and from past clients, because I continue to keep in touch with them and do client events and drop some things off to let them know that I'm still thinking of them and that I'm here for them if they have questions now, today, tomorrow, in the future. And even if it's not when they're ready to buy a house. I think that's something that a lot of agents, even seasoned agents, they seem to forget, is that if you don't keep in touch with them, you're not in their life. You don't necessarily know when they're going to be ready to need the assistance of a real estate agent. If you're not keeping in touch with them, you won't necessarily know that they had a conversation over Christmas about selling this spring.
Right.
If you've kept in touch, checked in, how's everything going? Do you have any questions about the market? I'm still here for you. Haven't forgotten you. those type of check-ins make them realize, oh yeah, this is, when I'm ready, he's my guy. That's it. But if you don't continue to do that, it's very common that they start to think, oh, well, my agent that I used in the past, he's sort of forgotten about me and moved somewhere else, and I'll just call, the next person who I speak to, who's a real estate agent, and then they go from there. So it's really important that in this market, that you continue to keep in touch with your sphere, your past clients. And I would also say get involved with a network group. I've been in LeTip, which is a network group like BNI for 15, 16 years. They're incredibly helpful because you have a support staff, you have a referral source, and also you develop a roster of vendors that you can refer to your clients that are in that group, electricians and plumbers and attorneys and all the different people that are in your network group. You get to learn about them so much that they become a source of referrals for your clients. And that makes you more valuable. So there are a lot of steps that you can take that are off the field, that will give you a better chance to be more successful in the long game. And I think that's the first mindset thing to have, is that if you really want to be successful, you have to resign your mindset that it's a long game. This is not an overnight flick a light switch success game. That's not how this works.
So, dude, you just gave like follow-up 101, 201, lead generation 101, 201, and sphere of influence 101, 201. That was beautiful. That was, just everything you just threw out there. I want to thank you, man, so much for your presence here, for coming on today. It's been a great broadcast. I've got your Instagram up. I've got your contact information up. Couple of things before we finish up. You've answered a very important question, but I just want to let everybody know that next week our broadcast will be Anthony Lamacchia of Crush It in Real Estate, Lamacchia Real Estate of Massachusetts and Florida. Anthony is the most informed realtor in the country, involved everywhere, and a great guy at that. So he knows all about the lawsuits, everything, but he is a great
guy, and I'm really happy to call him friend. Sheldon, thank you so much for being on. I have three things actually. Number one is, how can I help you grow your business?
Look, at this stage, everybody that has the ability to help grow your business. I would just implore other agents to keep in communications, not just with their clients, but with other agents as well. We can support each other as real estate agents and lift each other up as we go. Be there for other agents that are in need. And then what I have in addition found that was very successful is that when I am providing offers, if I know the other agents on the other side, it's also very helpful. So that communication and the tips and the network that you have with other agents is really important, because that's helped me in situations where a listing agent can say, oh, look, I got an offer from Sheldon. I know him. He's been around a long time. I've done deals with him, and he's very reliable. So I suggest, Mr. Seller, that we go with Sheldon. So, helping each other as agents is super important. And then, being supportive on social media. How you can support is how you support already. You always like my social media. You comment. We share some fun. Those are ways to help each other that you might not necessarily think of when it comes to agents helping agents.
Right. So two quick things. Number one, episode 41. I don't think we did this, but you know what? I heard you said.
The hat.
Right. The hat comes, right? So we didn't have this. I don't think we had it 5 years ago, but I do have something special just for you. And the only time I did this was in episode 41. For you, we have a special treat.
Oh, my goodness. Now you're talking my language. There we go.
Right? We've got a special box of Malamars for you. And if anybody wants to know the process, where that came from, go back to episode 41 on the YouTube channel, and you'll get the whole idea of what it was. But man, I want to thank you so much for coming on. You know what? I admire you. Thank you so much.
Stay on for a second as we go off. Everybody, next week, don't forget, we've got Anthony Lamacchia coming on. He is amazing. We'll have some great stuff. Another great for Real Estate Talk TGIF. We'll see you next week. Hit it, Nelson. Hey!